Boozehound Entertainment presents Sounds on Vinyl, the show that celebrates collecting and listening to vinyl. And now, from the Grand Anarchy Studio in Sweden and the Speakeasy Studio in the United States, here are your hosts, Mike and Phil.
Hey, welcome to the Sounds on Vinyl show where we talk about vinyl. That's what we do here. And today we have a very, very special guest. Mike, why don't you introduce our awesome guest?
Yeah. Today we have the honor of introducing a guitar legend. His name is Janne Schaffer. He played the guitar with ABBA and has worked with the likes of Bob Marley and the members of Toto, to name a few. And he's also a very, very successful solo artist. Welcome to the show, Janne.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
How are you?
I'm fine.
Yeah.
In these strange times, I feel very well.
Yeah.
I'm in perfect shape still, and I practice every day.
Yeah, you do?
Yeah, I do. Yes.
You need to keep yourself going.
Yeah, doing some recordings actually, so I have to keep my fingers in shape, so to speak. Yes.
Yeah, cool.
Cool.
All right, we're gonna dig into this. We're gonna talk to you about the way you started and vinyl records and your career and so forth. So my first question to you: how old were you when you first discovered music and bought your first record?
My first record, I was grown up with the two parents who were playing classical music. My mother was a piano teacher. My father played the violin. And I listened to classical music for Brahms, Beethoven, such things. And I didn't understand very much. But I think it was 1956, I heard Heartbreak Hotel with Elvis. And that was the first really thing I really noticed. So, and I thought, oh, can music sound like this? This is fantastic. My parents didn't like that very much because they were not into that kind of music at all. And then I think my first, I'm not sure, either it was Little Richard, Lucille, or it was Johnny and the Hurricanes. I don't remember the title of it, but that was with the saxophone and guitar player.
Yeah.
John. I don't remember the name of the song actually.
Was that your first record that you bought when you were on money?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was.
Yeah. And
River, the name of now I remember, Red River Rock with Johnny and the Hurricanes.
Oh, cool.
Okay, yeah.
And mom and dad didn't like that either?
No, every time I had a brother at that time, and every time we played the records, they went out and closed the door carefully. I went in listening to classical music, yes.
Did you buy a lot of records when you were growing up? Was that a thing?
Yeah, I always bought. Nowadays, I don't buy that much record but at that time in the 60s, I bought a lot of records, and the 70s, and as long as the vinyl was, and I have a really many records. I still collect them actually, so I have them. Yeah,
cool.
I started listening to Radio Luxembourg, and that kind of music you couldn't get in Sweden at that time. So as quickly as I heard a new band coming out, I remember I heard Cliff Richard and the Shadows. I bought their albums, especially the Shadows with Hank B. Marvin, and I also bought Beatles' first album. I thought that was fantastic. And I also bought 5 live Yardbirds live at the Marquee with Clapton.
Yeah.
It was fantastic.
Yeah. I going to that Radio Luxembourg thing, because I've heard so many stories about it. Was
Mm.
that something like when you were growing up, like pirate radio or something like that, that you were not supposed to get a hold of?
Everybody that I knew listened to Radio Luxembourg, because
Yeah.
in the Swedish radio there was 1 hour a week you could listen to pop music. The rest of the music was Mantovani's choir and Ray Conniff's choir, and I mean, and a lot of other things. But I wanted to listen more to pop music, and there was really good DJs at that time. Tony Blackburn, I remember, he was fantastic, and he played the latest, and the Beatles played live. I know they recorded sessions in London and they sent it from Radio Luxembourg.
Oh man. Oh, that's cool.
Mm.
Right. So, listening to all that music, do you remember where the break point were for you when you started to wanted to play music yourself? And
Yes, I remember I started in a strange way, because I didn't know if I could buy an electric guitar or something like that. But I was in Blackebergs läroverk, and I started to building an acoustic guitar, a real acoustic guitar, 1957.
oh man.
The same year as Polanka did Diana,
Yeah.
and Elvis made Jailhouse Rock. That's the same year. I built my own guitar, acoustic one, which I could play on, actually.
Oh, right.
Mm.
Wow.
Cool. So you built your own guitar. That's like the first thing you did with your experience to playing yourself.
Yeah,
Oh,
I did. So I formed a group. We were 2 acoustic guitars and 1 mandolin, and we played little Kingston trio and such things. And after a while, I would like to have hear myself a little more, so I changed to electric guitar.
Yeah.
And started to play. And then I found this is the guitar I would like to go on playing on, and that's the electric guitar. Yes.
All right. So you chose the electric guitar because I read somewhere that your mother was a piano teacher. Is that right?
Yeah, she was a piano teacher. Yes.
Did you choose the guitar to go like the opposite of your parents?
No, it was coincidence, I think. I didn't. It was nothing planned.
No.
But my parents were. They thought, oh, Janne has a hobby or something, but it was no hobby. It was a passion.
Yeah.
So and they didn't like very much when I went out, because I left home and playing almost every night. In a couple of weeks, and I think 3-4 nights a week, and small places in Stockholm, mostly.
Right. Was that with your own band that you formed?
Yeah, I formed a band together with a couple of friends, and we 1961, 62, we did the first tour around in Sweden, the Swedish folk parks, actually.
Yeah.
62, I recorded the first album. We made an EP with 4 songs.
Okay.
Where we had.
Was that your first band you recorded with?
Yeah, it was. We had a very strange name. We call ourselves Ted and the Caracas, and Caracas was. Ted was the lead singer of in our group, and his name is Ted Åström. And we came along. Our roads were crossed. We crossed roads later on many times, actually. So and we made an EP, and we were allowed to have one song of our own, and then two producers was Göte Wilhelmsson and Peter Himmelstrand. They wrote 3 songs for us, and one song was 3 guitars and drums. It's okay. And then Peter Himmelstrand wanted to have something that was very popular by youngsters at that time. And at that time, he said, everybody must play something with twist. Because Chubby Checker had made Let's Twist Again.
Yeah.
That was you. So everybody played twist.
Yeah.
Twist around the clock and twist meant to minuet, everything.
Yeah.
And then he was thinking, because the EP was going to be released in the autumn, and it was coming, Christmas was coming close, and he wrote a piece called Twistmas Eve.
Oh.
It's a terrible song, and it's twist was a rather up tempos which you could dance to. Twist was a sort of dance, but that's a ballad, impossible to dance like twist to, and then they changed our names, and they say you can't have the name Ted and the Caracas. Why? Caracas is the main city in Venezuela. We changed the name to Ted and the Top Teens, and when the EP was released, we got a review who said we can't see any reason why this record ever had been made. Was totally it was they said this was so rubbish, but I didn't care so much because my name wasn't in the back, because it said on guitar Janne Schaffer. So that was the start of my career, actually.
Cool.
Yeah.
Interesting. So are there any guitar players that have inspired you through the years, or to get started in those early days when you were learning guitar?
Yeah, I mean, the first one was Hank B. Marvin from the Shadows. And then after a while, I listened to Yardbirds, and that was Eric Clapton.
Mm-hmm.
And I follow his career, and when he played with John Mayall and the Blues Breakers. And I think that was 1966. I was playing in Sandviken's Folkets Park, and we were a supporting group to a group called Dave D. Doozy Beaky Mick and Titch. And the guitar player was Titch, and I asked Titch, what kind of guitar is Eric Clapton playing on? And he said, it's a Gibson Les Paul. Okay. And then I went around, and I had a friend called Janne Hallqvist, and I asked him, can you get hold of a Gibson Les Paul? I would like to buy one. And then we found one, which I still have in my possession.
Oh,
and
nice.
I bought it 1966 for 1,200 crowns.
Oh.
But
Wow.
that you can put a zero in the end, because it was what is another value of money at that time.
Yeah.
And then now,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh my God.
Wow.
But then you quickly became a very popular session guitar player, and
that was later. That was later on.
Okay. Yeah.
That was 66. I graduated as a student, and I studied 4 years at the university. I studied economics, statistics, and a lot of things.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's strange, when I studied economics, I saw in another room that was teaching, that was Björn Ulvaeus was in a room next to mine.
Oh my God.
But we didn't know each other at that time, but we got to know each other a little later.
Okay. Yeah.
So, but I started, you can say, I have two careers. One is like a soloist, instrumentalist, and songwriter, and the other one is like a session musician. And I started session 1970, 51 years ago.
Okay.
Wow.
So when was that in 1970 that you knew that this is something I could make a living out of?
Yeah, it started like there's this famous singer in Sweden called Björn Skifs, and I had been playing with him, and he asked me if I could play on his first solo album. That was it was called Both Sides Now, and it's a song, and I did that, and I sat in 1 week and I was playing with Sven-Olof Wallof's choir and orchestra, and after that, people realized that, there's a young cat who can follow in reading music and also can be inventive in doing small licks and solos and so on. So I went to Lasse Samuelsson, another orchestra. He is conducting Swedish music, and he called me up, and I was playing in another session, and then Michael Sösterdahl called me up, and then Mats Olsson called me up, and then Sven-Olof Wallov, and then it started, and I had to leave the university actually. So and then after that I realized I can have this as an I can work and make a living out of my music. It was fantastic, but it was I hadn't it wasn't planned. It just came around. It was coincidence as well.
Yeah.
So you never even gave a thought to having a regular 9-to-5 job?
No, I had. Since I studied 4 years, I played the whole 60s. I played with pop groups. And we made a little money, but not very much. And but then I studied 4 years, and I worked in the summertime. I worked in some places, small places. But since 1970, I really started, and I could make a living on it. Actually.
Cool. So
Nice.
your whole career has been filled with music, both from albums that you have recorded yourself, but also you have recorded with artists like ABBA.
Yeah.
How did you come in contact with the band as their session guitar player?
With ABBA.
With ABBA, yeah.
Yeah, it was 1971. I was already in the rather well known as a session player, and then I already had recorded with Johnny Nash, because he wrote film score for a Swedish movie, Want So Much to Believe, where he played with Christina Aguilera, and at that time he noticed that there was me and a drummer called Ola Brunket, who then played also with ABBA, but he said, these are very good session musicians. Let's do some demos for my new album. And then he brought to Stockholm a songwriter who teaches us new music. And the new music at that time, that was reggae. And the guy who taught me to play reggae, that was Bob Marley, actually.
Oh.
So he was here for 9 months, and we were recording with Johnny Nash reggae music, and we recorded Stir It Up, actually.
Oh.
And but with Johnny Nash, not with Bob Marley. But we were sitting in the studio, and he teach me, take it, relax, lay back, don't push it, take it easy. It was fantastic. But
was that before Bob Marley's albums?
He was living in Nockeby in Stockholm.
Yeah.
In a cellar, and in that cellar he wrote the music for his the Catch a Fire, which he recorded in London 1972. But he had written all the songs down in Nockeby in Stockholm.
Oh.
Stir It Up,
That's
for
cool.
instance. That is so. I have a demo where he plays it on acoustic guitar, and
Oh wow,
so then is
that's cool.
yeah.
Oh,
But
man.
then 1971, I was called by Björn and Benny, and because they were hired from Stickan Andersson, who had started the Swedish record company Polar, and they were supposed to find young, talented artists, and they had found one, and they called me up and said, "Could you come to the office, Janne? We want to hear what your opinion about this young singer." And I went there, and was a young guy. He was 15 years old, and he was fantastic. There was a guy called Ted Gärdestad, and he was singing one song after another, and his brother who wrote the lyrics is standing next to him, and his name was Kenneth. And when Björn and Benny asked me, "What do you think?" And I said, "This is fantastic music." "Okay, then you can record with it." "Yeah, okay, of course." That was my music. I mean, I had played with so-called Swedish top Östen Warnerbring, Lill Lindfors, Lill-Babs, very good artists. But this was Ted Gärdestad's music was more into my music, so to speak.
Yeah.
And so they booked a studio called Metronome, and there was Michael B. Treto. He was working there, and they asked me, "Do you know a good drummer?" "Yeah, Ola Brunkert." "And a bass player?" "Yeah, Mike Watson." And then we started recording Ted Gärdestad's first album. And when he had made his vocals, they said, we need a choir. Let's call the girls up. And that was Agneta Fältskog and Anne-Frid Lyngstad. So you could say that it was the embryo to what later became ABBA that played on Ted Gärdestad's first album. And it was released 1972 and was a huge hit. He was a young guy, he was very good looking, and he became a teen idol.
Yeah.
But he was very much into music, and we became really close friends, actually. But before his first album came out, was released, they call us, Ola, Mike, and me, and Michael B. Treto. They said, we have a song of our own, People Need Love. Do you want to play on it?" "Yeah, of course."
Yeah.
And then we recorded People Need Love, which is, for me, it's it wasn't the first song they recorded together, but this was the first song that, so to speak, is an ABBA song. It's more characteristic.
Okay,
but they were not, they didn't call themselves ABBA at that time. They were called Agneta, Anne-Frid, Björn and Benny at that time.
Oh, right. Okay.
Mm.
So was it, did they just shorten it down and with their initials?
Yeah, they did. And it's what I've heard, the idea of doing that was Stickan Andersson.
Yeah.
Because it was too much to name Anne-Frid, Agneta, Anne-Frid, Björn and Benny. It was, after a while they said, "Oh, let's shorten it down." And then it became ABBA.
ABBA.
But there's a company in Sweden making fish, also named ABBA. So they have to call them. I said, "Can we use the same name? But we're not fishing. We make music."
So you were there from the beginning when they actually came up with the name and started to record. Oh man.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. And at that time I was recording all the time. I still have some books where I made some notes when I played on records, and but I didn't, when we made a tune with ABBA and also with Ted Gärdestad, but they had no titles. They were just making some nonsense lyrics.
Yeah.
And then after a while, they Björn Ulvaeus wrote the lyrics for the song. So I didn't know which song I play on actually from the very beginning. But there's a guy called Carl Magnus Palm, and he is professor in ABBA. He knows everything. He has written a book about it as well. And I asked Carl Magnus, how many tunes do I play on with ABBA? And then he said, I counted it, Janne, and ABBA has up to this day recording 98 songs, but now they're recording some new songs, but I'm not playing on those, and they are not released yet. That's the other guitar player, Lasse Welander, is playing on those. But 98 songs, I play on 50. So it's rather many one.
Wow.
It became, So I ended, the last two songs I recorded with ABBA was Under Attack and Cassandra. They recorded that 1981, I think.
Yeah.
In the Polar studio.
So since you're there from the beginning, did you think ABBA was going to be as successful as they became?
No, I don't think anyone knew that, because it was very good music. We had a very good time. It was a very good feeling in the studio, and they were everybody, we were very much into music. And I like that type of music when you create the music in the studio. Nothing is written down. We have to write down the chords, and then we figure out some licks here and there, and some small figure, bass figure, guitar figures, and so on. So everything was made out of our head when we recorded it, actually.
Wow.
So, but I also, like I said, I recorded with arrangers who had written music as well, so I could read that as well. But I thought this was more fun.
Yeah.
Because then we played and played and played. It was a little bit like the Wrecking Crew, if you know, in Hollywood. We were the same musicians all the time.
Yeah.
They called us around and, are you free on Wednesday, Janne? No. On Thursday, yes. Okay, we called Ola and we have to get the group together. We were so to speak, a session group, actually. And we played on, the same musicians played on almost all the tracks.
Was that the way that the Björn and Benny created the music? Always together with you and Ola?
Yeah, in the beginning, and Mike. But
Mike,
after a while, there came a new bass player, Rutger Gunnarsson, which has been here. Björn Ulvaeus have been playing with Hootenanny Singers, as a vocal group, and he played on their records. And so they wanted him involved, and he was a fantastic bass player. And I asked him, where do you come from? Because I hadn't seen him before. He said, oh, I've studied classical music, classical guitar in the musical high school, but you can't get any jobs on classical guitar. So I changed to bass.
Oh,
okay. So that was fantastic. And 1973, they released Ring Ring.
Yeah.
And I was in the orchestra when the Swedish Eurovision Song Contest. I was playing with them, and they came number 3 in the Swedish Song in the contest, and they were very disappointed. But 1973, I recorded my own first album.
Yeah.
And I topped the charts 6 weeks with my first solo album. And ABBA made an album of Ring Ring, and then they came to number 2. So I sold more just a couple of months. I sold more than ABBA. It was fantastic. But it was the only time in the history I've done that. But I told them I want to go on recording, because I thought I found I found I was enjoyed very much doing sessions, and I still do. I still do sessions actually.
Yeah.
I still working at the same. Yeah, today young guys and girls call me up and ask me, could you play on little? I have written a tune. Could you come and play a little bit a solo or something like that? And I do that still.
Oh, cool.
Cool.
So, but at that time, I told them, because then they asked me, and I was in the song contest orchestra 1974 when they won with Waterloo as well.
Yeah.
And then they asked me if I. Then I went on tour in the States with Sean Phillips for 2 months. And my son was just 1 year old. And when I came back, ABBA asked me if I could do a tour, a couple of weeks with them in the States. But then I said, you have to take another one because I can't leave my home. And then I realized I could live on my own music actually. So I said, I can play on your records, but if you're going to have a guitar player playing or going on tour, call Lasse Welander. He's an excellent guitar player. So and that was so I went on doing my own. I formed a group with Björn Nilsson Lind called Hörselmat.
Yeah.
And when he was fantastic musician, and we played around in both in Sweden and in Europe. And I went on recording with ABBA as well, actually.
Yeah. But going back to your own music, you released your first solo album in 1973, and then your second one in 1974 called The Second LP, and then Catharsis in 1976. And then in 1977, for the fourth solo album, Airmail, something special happened. You got invited to America to record this album with a famous producer and some well-known musicians. Could you tell us about that?
Yeah, it's a long story actually.
Yeah.
They made a Norwegian documentary about it, because Catharsis was released in the States and got very well reviewed in Rolling Stone.
Yeah.
And so the two managers from CBS came to Stockholm and wanted to hear me playing live.
Yeah.
And they did, and they said, this is fantastic, Janne, do you want to record in Hollywood? Yeah, of course. Why not? And how do you want to do it? And I said, I want to have Björn Nilsson Lind playing along, because we had met and we like to play with each other.
Yeah.
And I had a friend, English piano player, Peter Robinson. He lived in Hollywood, so I said Peter Robinson as well. And then I said, I don't know the bass and drums and so on. Oh. And they said, you can listen to your records you have at home, and if you find something. And I had a record with a guitar player called Les Dudek. He played with the Allman Brothers, because I liked Allman Brothers very much. And Joanne Allman is a fantastic guitar player as well. But that drummer, and I told them, this drummer is fantastic. Okay, and they asked me, well, what's his name? And then I looked at it and I said, his name is, it says Jeff Porcaro. Oh, then you have good taste, because we just signed them and they formed a group. Okay, so, and then I came over and had Björn Nilsson Lind with me as well. And we asked Jeff Porcaro, we want a bass player. Oh, they can take my brother, Mike. Okay, that's nice. Yeah. And percussion player, take our father, Joe. Okay. And then I recorded also one tune with brother Steve. He's playing on one tune, but he also conducted symphony orchestra, because Björn Nilsson Lind wrote some orchestral part, strings on a couple of my tunes.
Yeah.
And he was conducting them.
Oh, wow.
So at that time when I recorded my album 77, Jeff said to Björn Gison and me, we have a rehearsal studio, can come and listen to a tune we recorded. Okay, and then we heard Hold the Line without vocals. I said it was fantastic. We have idols in Europe. You have? I said, which one is that? Which group? ABBA. 4 letters and 2 are the same. ABBA. Everybody remembers it. That's why we call ourselves Toto. T-O-T-O. Everybody will remember it. So that's how it happened.
Yeah, and they didn't know that you played on ABBA's records?
Not at that time. I told him I'm playing guitar on. So.
Oh wow! Wow.
All right. And you had a famous producer, Bruce Botnick, who
Yeah.
He recorded The Doors.
Yeah, he did.
And how was that working with him?
He was fantastic. He was an engineer. He was an engineer actually.
Yeah.
So that's he didn't produce very much because when I record, I, so to speak, produce my own music.
Oh, okay.
I know exactly what I want and how it should sound like. But he has the technical knowledge, so it was fantastic to work with him.
Cool.
And but he recorded Logan and Messina as well, and a couple of others. But he was fantastic.
Yeah,
it was great. Yeah. And the engineer was Rick Pekkonen, and that was we played in Larrabee's studio, where Earth, Wind and Fire were recording at the same studio. Yeah. So that was fantastic. Yeah.
So was recording in America really different than recording in Sweden?
Not really. We were. It's all about the same. It was a little faster, but when I went there, but I had all my music written down. I had arranged all my songs, so I put the score in front of Jeff Porcaro, Mike, and Steve, so everything was written out.
Okay.
But when so it was no long sessions, but when I recorded with ABBA, there were no scores, so we had to improvise it. And Teddy Addison was the same thing, so we didn't. But you can't say it, all the tunes I played. I did some overdubs on ABBA. For example, Mamma Mia. Yeah. I wasn't playing in the. I put my guitars when they had made the background, and that was arranged. And I play on I Have a Dream. That was Benny has played it on his synthesizer, and I just followed that. And Voulez-vous as well. It was also recorded in Florida. They had a couple of tunes recorded in the States, but they wanted to have the same sound. So it's sometimes it was, but it was never written out. If it was something that was arranged, you had to. Benny played it on the keyboard, and I follow it and tried to play it as he wanted it, actually.
Right.
Okay.
So of all the albums that you have done with all the artists, what are your top 3 albums that you're most proud of, that you're a part of recording?
Oh,
it's a hard one.
It is, yeah, it is. I mean, I can name a couple of songs.
Yeah.
It's not an album is very hard because there's so many songs, but I'm very proud of playing the guitar on Mamma Mia, of course.
Yeah.
But Björn Gison Lind recorded the song 1980, and he gave me the notes, and I was sitting down and thought, in hell does he know? So I called him up. How do you want me to play on this tune? You can figure it out yourself. I thought, okay. Should I play the melody? Yes, you should play the melody. And I figured that out. And when we came to the studio, it was two takes. Well, take one and the real take was number 2.
Yeah.
And that was Sing Louder Little River, Brusa höger lilla å.
Yeah.
That one became very huge hit in Sweden, actually.
Yeah.
And then I'm very proud that I played on Ted Gärdestad Satellites, 1979. I helped him arrange that song, and I have formed a group 1980 with one of Sweden's most famous artists, Lasse Åberg.
Yeah,
he makes movies, and he's an art. He makes art, and he has an art museum on his own. And we have formed a band called the Electric Banana Band. Was from the beginning it was for children, but today it's for the whole family. And we have written a couple of songs, and we actually made a musical from that music in 2006 in Malmö Opera, and hopefully it's coming around in Sweden this autumn. We hope so.
Yeah,
and that's fantastic fantastic. His lyrics are so good, and we still work very much together. And I have a couple of tunes, the Banan Contact and Tropical Fruit is one of my favorites. And 1995 I recorded an album by Pure Lust, of Ren Lust, and I wrote a song called Norrland, and that song became very popular. It's still is. When I look at Spotify, I see that when people low down my music is number 1. That's Norrland. Yeah.
But in 1985, you started to form your own record company, Earmill Productions.
Yes,
right?
Yes, I did.
How did you decide to come about and do that? Why did you?
I can. I had my first 2 albums was recorded for one record company, and then I moved over to CBS, 3 albums, and then I did one album with the small American company called SWS, and then I should go on recording for SWS, and the guy said then I recorded a little in New York, actually, but then I want to record in Stockholm, and he gave me a lot of checks. I say, you can pay the studio, pay the musicians. You can just write the sum of money they want, and they can get the money in the bank. But that was impossible. And I called him and said, well, you should pay the studio. Oh, I send you money, Janne. And I asked him over and over again. And the last time he told me, oh, haven't you got the money yet? No. Oh, then they must have sent it by boat. He was living in New York, and then I understood this is he will not pay us.
No.
So then I started my own company, actually. So I said I pay myself, from my own pocket, and since then I run my own record company, actually. Yeah.
So are you really hands-on with the whole process, with printing the album and the sleeves and cover designs and the whole 9 yards?
Yeah, I do everything. It's also artistic freedom. I can decide when and what I'm going to record, and who we are going to play, and so it's totally freedom.
Yeah.
And
cool.
But I haven't recorded so much lately. I've written a song together with Lasse Åberg which we are in a project we are working on, and if that we just waiting for to start it. That we should we actually written lyrics and music, but we haven't got the. It's very close to that we can say officially that this is going, and then there will be a lot of recordings again.
Yeah, cool.
I'm looking forward to that. Yes.
Yeah, of course. Do you
Awesome.
still listen to vinyl records today? Do you got a big collection?
You have a really big collection. Yeah,
Yeah?
I have. Yes. But I must admit, I don't listen to them because my record player is not in the best shape.
Okay.
Sorry
okay.
to say. Yeah.
What's some of your favorite records?
I must say, one of the best album I bought is Pet Sounds, Beach Boys,
Yeah.
with Brian Wilson, and also Sgt. Pepper. Then I listen very much to fusion music.
Yeah.
And I listen to John McLaughlin. I listen to Pat Metheny, and also Doobie Brothers, and I have a lot of things. It's hard for me to say this one is better. Sometimes it depends on my feeling for the day. Actually,
All right. Cool.
yeah.
Interesting. So, is there a prized album in your collection? The one record that you wouldn't give up for anything?
To listen to, or what do you mean?
Like the one record that if someone said, "Hey, I'll buy that from you," and you're like, "Nope, I can't give this up. This is going to be in my collection forever and ever."
Yeah, actually, the one album I'm looking for that I haven't got, I play on an album called Ablution.
Okay.
And it's with recording that 1973 or 74 or something like that. The musicians are me, Ola Brunkert, Björn Gison Lind, Peter Robinson, John Gustafsson, Barry de Souza. And there are three English musicians. Peter Robinson and John Gustafsson was in the original Jesus Christ recordings with Andrew Lloyd Webber. Yeah. And Peter Robinson played with Phil Collins for many years. But there was a Swedish producer called Anders Henkan Henriksson. He told Peter Robinson and John Gustafsson, there are two musicians, Swedish musicians, they want you on their album. Okay, they said, oh, come to Sweden. Yeah, they came, and to Björn Gison Lind and me, they said, there are two Englishmen, John Gustafsson and Peter Robinson. They have a lot of tunes, and they want you to play on their album.
Okay.
And we met in the studio, and no one of us had any tunes. We just stand there looking at each other. Do you have anything? No, I don't have anything. Do you? And then suddenly we realized this is a Henkan thing. He was famous. Henkan did a lot of Magnus Uggla records.
Okay.
And he was sitting behind the mixer board, and then suddenly I think Björn Gison Lind said, I have something I was supposed to have on my first album. We can record that, and we figured that out. And after a while, we got a whole album together. And if you listen to that today, you can't imagine. We had nothing when we started, and so much music, and it's almost impossible to understand how in the hell did we manage to record all this, but we did. So I'm very proud of that album, but it's really it's nothing you can hear on the radio. Okay. It's very, very futuristic. It's very fusion.
Yeah, okay.
Very much fusion.
But you don't own that record?
No, I don't have it.
Okay.
I'm looking for it. I hope I can pay a rather lot of money to have. I just want it in my
Oh.
collection.
So,
Otherwise, I have.
So
I was gonna say,
people
so that's
out
your
there-
holy grail.
Yeah, that's your holy grail right there.
Yeah.
Cool.
But I must tell you another story about the recording. Lee Hazelwood came. He stayed in Stockholm
Yeah.
many times, and he had met the girl or something. I don't know what, but he came and I recorded with him, and we recorded a song called Indian Summer, and I play a guitar solo on that record, and it's fantastic. And Björn Isolin is playing as well. But Lee Hazelwood brought that song over to Hollywood, and then he remixed it and put a female vocalist on it, and that's Nancy Sinatra. So we are playing with Lee Hazelwood and Nancy Sinatra, Indian Summer. Me, both Björn Isolin and me, actually.
And yourself.
Yes.
Wow.
Oh, that's cool.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it is.
That's
so
awesome.
so speaking of female singers from the younger generation, they have noticed your music, and I'm talking about the American artist Christina Aguilera, who was sampling one of your songs, No Registration, from your debut album. How did she come about that, and how did that happen?
Yeah, it's a very good question, because I don't know, but I can figure it out, because I've heard her. She told the story somewhere, and the producer of that tune is Anderson .Paak.
Okay.
And you know Anderson .Paak?
No, not really.
He is fantastic. You should listen to Anderson .Paak. He is one of the hottest new artists.
Okay.
He did a recording very recently with Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak, and they're playing live. He's a drummer and vocalist. He sings a little bit like Curtis Mayfield.
Oh wow. That's cool.
And he's fantastic. Okay. So he produced that song, Sick of Sitting. They took a piece of my and made a loop of it. So it goes around all her in a song. Yeah, I'm very proud of that, because it was fantastic. I hope they can do it one more time, really.
Yeah, because that ended up on the American Billboard list.
Yeah, I think so. Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Cool.
That was made 2 years ago, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So, are there any musical plans for you in the future? I mean, we're in the situation that we are, but do you have stuff planned for like next year, perhaps?
Yeah,
that you can share with us?
Hopefully this year, because we hope it will open up a little bit, because I have a concert with the symphony orchestra on the 13th of June in Sandviken, and if we just can have 50 people, it's a big hall.
Yeah,
and the hall takes 500 people. So if you can just have 50 people or 100 people spread out, so nobody gets sick, then we're going to do that concert. And I have some small concerts. And last year I had this 50-year celebration for my own career.
Yeah.
And in October we hired Södra Teatern in Stockholm for 3 days, and that one is the 3rd or 4th time we moved it in front of us.
Yeah.
And and next year also, in February and March, I have something in the Berwaldhallen with the symphony orchestra.
Yeah.
And you have to watch my homepage, and because I'll put all the concerts they're having. But for this very moment, the first thing we have is a club gig in the 7th and 8th of May. If they open it up for 50 people, I can do this concert, but otherwise we have to wait. But I'm going to do 2 streaming concerts. One on the 7th of April
Yeah.
which is the day of the terror accident in Drottninggatan, and it's a benefit concert for Ebba Sänglar with a couple of artists. And then I'm going to do a streaming concert on the 18th of April from Vaxholm, me and a piano player and a trombone player. So, but that's a more is an instrumental concert.
All right. Well, there you go. Well,
go.
thank you so much, Janne, for taking the
thank
time
you.
to talk to us. We
you.
are honored to have you on our show. Thank you
Mhm.
so much.
It has been an honor to be on your show, actually.
Oh.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Phil, until next time, we
Yes.
want you to hit you up on Instagram and go to Sons on Vinyl over there. Hit us up on Twitter. We're also on Facebook. And we'll be back soon. Until then, later.
Later.
If your ears aren't bleeding by now, you didn't listen to Sounds on Vinyl the right way, so go back and listen again. Sounds on Vinyl is hosted by Mike Svensson and Phil Boyer and produced by Boozehound Entertainment. Go to soundsonvinyl.com to support the show, to dive deeper into listening and collecting vinyl. Don't forget to subscribe where you listen so you never miss an episode. Thanks for listening and for all your motherfucking support.